himself, and in particular, his death and resurrection. This is what St. Paul always meant by the word gospel. It is important, however, to be careful not to excessively separate the two times from the two announcements, that of Jesus and that of the church, or as some have been saying, the historical Jesus from the Christ of faith. Jesus is not only the object of the church's proclamation, that which is announced. Woe to us if we reduce him to only this. That would mean to objectify him and deny the resurrection. In the church's proclamation, it is the risen Christ who, with his Spirit, still speaks today. He is also the subject who announces. As a text of the Second Vatican Council says, Christ is present in his word, since it is he himself who speaks when the Holy Scriptures are read in the church. Starting with the original announcement, we can summarize the successive unfolding of the preaching of the church with an image suggested by Peggy. Consider the wake of a great ship. It begins at a point which is the bow of the ship, but it continues to broaden more and more until it is lost in the horizon and touches the two opposite shores of the sea. This is what came about through the church's proclamation. It became with a point, the kerygma. Christ was handed over to death for our trespasses and was raised for our justification, and expressed in an even more emphatic and concise manner, Jesus is Lord. The initial expansion of this point occurred with the appearance of the four Gospels, written to explain that initial core, and then the rest of the New Testament. Then came the tradition of the church, with which its magisterial teaching, liturgy, theology, institutions, laws, and spirituality. The end result is an immense patrimony, which suggests precisely the wake of a ship at its maximum expansion. At this point, if we want to re-evangelize the post-Christian world, we must make a choice. Where should we begin? At any point along the wake or from its beginning? The immense abundance of doctrine and institutions can become a handicap if we try to present this to the person who has lost all contact with the church and no longer knows who Jesus is. It would be like vesting a child all at once with one of those old, huge, heavy, brocaded liturgical coats. It would crush him. Instead, we must help these people establish a relationship with Jesus. We need to do with them what Peter did on the day of Pentecost with the 3,000 people present. Speak to them about this crucified Jesus, whom God raised up. We should take them to the point at which they, too, cut to the heart, shall ask, "Brothers, what should we do?" Then we shall respond with the words of Peter, "Repent and be baptized. If you are not yet baptized, or confess if you already have them." How and when to do this will depend on our creative ability, and it can vary, as happened in the New Testament, from Peter's discourse to the large crowd on the day of Pentecost, or person to person, like Philip to the Ethiopian eunuch of Queen Candace. Those who shall respond to the announcement will unite, as they did then, around the community of believers. They will listen to the teaching of the apostles and partake in the breaking of bread. Depending on the call and response of each person, little by little they will make their own that entire immense heritage born of the kerygma. People will not accept Jesus based on the word of the church, but they will accept the church based on the word of Jesus. We have